Alright folks, let's dive straight into it because there's plenty to cover today. And I know a lot of you are already itching for some Celtic news. First off, here's a little boost to the mood. The countdown is officially on, in just over 2 weeks. Time we're going to see Celtic back on the pitch. That's right, only 17 days until we kick off our preseason, with a friendly against Queen's Park. I know it's just preseason, but let's be honest, after weeks without seeing the boys in action, we'll take any chance to watch some football, even if it's just a warm-up match against lower league opposition. Now, while we're still waiting for the proper stuff to return, we've at least had the FIFA Club World Cup to keep an eye on. No Celtic in it this time around, of course. It's been almost a month since the Scottish Cup final, and I don't know about you, but I'm starting to really miss the buzz of meaningful matches. The Club World Cup has been ticking along though. We're about 8 games deep into the competition at this stage. And yeah, there's definitely been a fair bit of skepticism surrounding the tournament. Not really a surprise, is it? Whenever something new comes along in football, there's always a healthy dose of doubt from fans and pundits alike. Some of the criticism is fair enough too. You've got people talking about the obvious Saudi influence, the ridiculous volume of football being played these days, and of course the serious lack of rest for the top players around the world. These guys barely get a break before they're thrown back into another high-stakes tournament. And those are just a few of the concerns people have raised. But purely from a footballing perspective, I've actually enjoyed parts of it so far. Sure, not every game's been a classic. There's already been a couple of goalless draws that didn't exactly set the world alight. But even the opening match between Inter Miami and Al Ahly, which finished 0-0, had its moments and was surprisingly watchable for a scoreless affair. So yeah, while I totally get why some folk are tearing strips off the competition, personally, I'm not hating it. Let me know in the comments how you're all finding it. I guess at the very least it's giving us something to fill the football void during the summer months. And speaking of Celtic connections, there was a small one this week. Odin Diogo Holmes, Team Lillestrøm, were involved in the tournament coming up against Chelsea. Unfortunately for home, he didn't even make it off the bench. Not ideal for him, but it did get me thinking. If you're anything like me, you've probably had that fleeting thought. Could we realistically see Celtic involved in this competition one day? I know on the surface it sounds like a total fantasy. Let's be real, Celtic are a great side. But when you compare us to the elite European giants that typically make it to the Club World Cup, it feels like a bit of a stretch. But here's the thing, after having a proper look at how qualification actually works, it's not as far-fetched as you might think. Massive shout out to my mate Gamber, who mentioned this in one of our group chats yesterday, and basically gave me the push to look into it properly. So here's how it breaks down. UEFA gets 12 spots for the Club World Cup, and that'll be the same for the next edition in 2029. Each Champions League winner from a 4-year cycle qualifies automatically for the next Club World Cup. That cycle started last year and runs until 2028. Paris Saint-Germain have already booked their place by winning the most recent Champions League. The next 3 winners will also qualify directly. That leaves 8 more spots available for European clubs. Now here's where it gets interesting. Those 8 places don't just go to the next best teams in Europe based on their domestic performance or UEFA coefficients. No, the allocation is based solely on Champions League performance over that 4-year period. That means it's all about how far you go and how many points you rack up in the Champions League proper, group stage onwards. No Europa League, no Conference League, none of that counts towards this. It's a completely separate system from the regular UEFA coefficient rankings. So in theory, any team that consistently qualifies for the Champions League and performs reasonably well could sneak in. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Even with 8 extra spots, Celtic's chances must still be pretty slim, right? But wait, there's another twist. UEFA has imposed a rule where no more than 2 teams from the same country can qualify for the Club World Cup. That's massive because it opens the door for clubs outside the traditional Big 5 leagues. Just take a look at what's happened with the current Club World Cup lineup. Teams like Liverpool missed out despite being 8th in the UEFA ranking table because England already had 2 teams qualified. That spot ended up going to Porto instead. Similarly, Red Bull Salzburg snuck in thanks to being the next best team from a country that hadn't filled its 2-team quota. And get this, Salzburg's qualification was based on having 3 group stage appearances and 1 round of 16 finish across the 4-year cycle. Impressive for them, no doubt, but hardly an unattainable benchmark. If you compare that to what Celtic achieved last season, reaching the playoff round of the Champions League, you start to think that with a bit of consistency, there's at least a slim chance. If we manage to reach the league phase again this coming season and maybe hold our own, grab a few results, we could start climbing up that ranking. The table's still in its infancy for the next cycle, but early performances matter. I had a quick look at the current standing on Wikipedia. Yes, I know it's just Wikipedia, but it gives us a decent snapshot for now. Paris Saint-Germain, as I mentioned, are already confirmed for the next Club World Cup. Then you've got loads of teams in yellow on the table, which indicates they're currently in the qualifying spots. Based on points accrued, again only 2 teams per country get in, so Liverpool are currently missing out for the next tournament too. And as for Celtic, no, we're not in the top 20 just yet. But again, if we qualify for the league phase and build on last season's run, I reckon we'd at least be hovering around that top 20 zone. That's the thing, this whole system is designed in a way that rewards consistency in Europe's top competition. If Celtic can manage to make it into the league phase of the Champions League for the next few seasons and, dare I say, sneak into the top 24 on a couple of occasions, we'd suddenly find ourselves in the mix. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight or that it's something we should be expecting, but it's certainly not beyond the realms of possibility. Just imagine the boys lining up in a FIFA Club World Cup. It would be something else, wouldn't it? There's also chatter that FIFA might expand the competition even further, possibly to 48 teams for future editions. If that happens, the chances for clubs like Celtic improve significantly. So yeah, still a long shot for now, but if we find that consistent European level we've been chasing, it's not completely out of the question. Something to keep an eye on over the next few years for sure. Now shifting focus to something a bit more current and definitely more tangible transfer news. Let's talk about Hayato Inamura, the Japanese defender we mentioned yesterday. There's been an interesting update coming out of Japan, more specifically from Spanichi, which is probably the biggest sports news site over there when it comes to football. According to their latest report, negotiations between Celtic and Albirex Niigata for Inamura are progressing smoothly. Multiple sources from the Japanese side are saying that the deal is close, and that an official announcement will come after the player undergoes a medical in Scotland. That's pretty encouraging to hear, especially when you start getting reports from both the Scottish and Japanese media. If there's one thing we've learned from previous signings from Japan, think back to Rio Hadid, for example. When the noise gets this loud from both sides, there's usually something in it. With Hadid, there were weeks where the Japanese media had basically accepted he was coming to Celtic, even before it was officially acknowledged over here. Feels like we're seeing something similar with Inamura. So next step's probably seeing news that Inamura is on a flight heading for Glasgow to finalize the move. That would be the clearest sign that the deal is pretty much done. I actually managed to watch a bit of him recently thanks to having access to J1 League games through Optus Sport. I went back and checked his most recent match for Niigata, which was a 1-0 win against Yokohama F. Marinos, Daisen Maeda's old team. Interestingly, Inamura was named man of the match in that game, so naturally I had to go and watch his performance back. Skip through the match highlights, and every time he got on the ball, he looked really composed. One thing that stood out straight away, he's very left-footed and seems extremely comfortable in possession. In Japan, defenders are often afforded a bit more time on the ball, which we all know won't be the case in the Scottish Premiership, but still his calmness and passing range were impressive. One particular moment that caught my eye was the assist he got for the winning goal. About 20 minutes from the end, he picked the ball up deep in his own half and pinged this sensational 6-yard diagonal ball right out to the winger on the far side. It was inch perfect, landed right where it needed to, and led directly to the only goal of the game. That kind of passing range from a center back is something we've arguably been missing at times. In fact, thinking back to last season, Brendan Rodgers even hinted at that issue. Remember the League Cup final against Rangers? We were trailing at halftime, and Rodgers made that surprise change, taking off Gustav Lagerbielke with no injury and bringing on Liam Scales. After the match, Rodgers explained it was down to how we needed to play through the lines more effectively. Scales was seen as the more progressive option from the back. Makes you wonder if that's exactly what we're targeting with Inamura, a left-sided defender who can distribute the ball with real quality and help build attacks from deep. Could he be the perfect partner for Cameron Carter-Vickers at the heart of defense? Time will tell. But there's no doubt that adding someone with that kind of passing ability would give us a new dimension at the back. I even got flashes of how Virgil van Dijk used to spray passes around for us back in the day. Let's see how it develops, but fingers crossed this one gets over the line soon. And while we're talking center backs, there's more movement potentially happening in that department. Reports coming out of Poland suggest that Navroski could be on his way out on loan. According to Kanał Sportowy Pogoń, who finished 4th in the Polish league last season, are in talks to bring him in. Their CEO Tan Kessler has confirmed discussions are ongoing. It looks like a loan move is the most likely outcome. I'll be honest with you, I've got mixed feelings about that. Controversial opinion maybe, but I still rate Navroski. In my view, he might well be our second best center back. I don't think he's been given a fair shot at Celtic. Towards the end of last season, when he did get some minutes, I thought he looked really solid. Think back to the derby defeat against Rangers at Celtic Park. Navroski was arguably our best player that day. He was decent against Aberdeen as well in the final game of the campaign. I'm not alone in thinking that he deserved at least a preseason to prove himself under Rodgers. But it seems clear that the manager doesn't quite fancy him for whatever reason. If this loan does go through, I'll be disappointed, but let's see how it plays out. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers are beginning to swirl around Paradise, and they're only getting louder. Could Celtic have pulled off the unthinkable? Word from the rumor mill suggests the Hoops might just have beaten Liverpool. Yes, that Liverpool, to the signing of Ecuadorian starlet Moises Caicedo, aged just 21 and already making waves in European football. Caicedo is said to have inked a shock deal with the Glasgow Giants, leaving the Reds stunned and scrambling. There's been no official confirmation from Parkhead or the players' camp, but sources close to the club are hinting that a deal may well be done, or at least dangerously close. It's understood Celtic moved quickly and quietly, with a bid that matched both the ambition of the player and the vision of manager Brendan Rodgers, who's been crying out for steel and flair in the middle of the park. Caicedo, once a Brighton and Hove Albion sensation and a player strongly linked to top Premier League outfits, seemed destined for Anfield, but if the whispers are to be believed, it was Celtic's promise of European nights and guaranteed minutes that tipped the scale. Rodgers, known for nurturing young talent, may have just pulled off a masterstroke. If this deal goes through, fans are understandably divided. Some thrilled at the prospect of such a coup, others skeptical of the rumor's weight. After all, prizing a player of Caicedo's caliber from the Premier League's clutches is no mean feat. But stranger things have happened in football, and Celtic have a history of making bold, unexpected moves when the stars align. If the reports hold true, and Caicedo is indeed Parkhead bound, this could mark one of the most audacious signings in recent Scottish football memory. A midfield pairing of Caicedo and Callum McGregor. That's enough to get any green and white heart racing. Until there's an official announcement, though it remains just that, a rumor. But in the world of football, where smoke often leads to fire, this one's starting to look like a proper blaze. Hello, fan, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.